So clearly you guys like DLC wishlist videos for Jurassic World Evolution too. As we wait for news on the next DLC, let's make another pack of our own. In last week's video where I talked about the 4 species that I would ideally put in a late Jurassic species pack, I also mentioned that Frontier should do a marine species pack accompanied by a free update that makes some much needed improvements to the lagoon. That's what this video is going to be. There is a theory floating about that the upcoming DLC will be introducing more marine species paired with a fitting update. Most recently, I saw a post about it on Reddit, but I also saw this theory in tweets and in my comment section. It's based on the fact that many of the community feel it is the most needed thing for the game, and Frontier is good at listening to the wants and needs of the community and improving the game accordingly, but mostly the theory is based on this tweet that Frontier did sharing wallpapers. A Biosyn wallpaper, a Malta wallpaper, a Mosasaurus wallpaper, and a goat wallpaper. The theory going around, and different people have slightly different takes on the theory, but generally it goes that the first 2 wallpapers are from the major expansions to the game in order. So the Mosasaurus picture being the 3rd picture hints at the 3rd expansion for the game revolving around the lagoons and marine creatures. The goat wallpaper being another hint meant to be interpreted as the GOAT, the greatest of all time, meaning to say, this is you guys' most wanted DLC. It is not a completely meritless theory, but it would be a much more cerebral tease than Frontier has ever done for Jurassic World Evolution 2. As this Redditor pointed out, they did get creative with their teases for an update in the first game at one point, but mostly their teases are much more on the nose than this would be. So I don't personally put too much stock in it. It is a little far-fetched, but I definitely can't deny that I do see it. And I think it would be a pretty fun and clever tease of theirs if it turns out to be true. While my expectations are low, I did want to get this video out before anything is announced, just in case this does turn out to be the case, because if a Lagoon-based DLC is announced, a wishlist video in that vein is pointless. And I do think that it's very possible that this week is the week when we're gonna get an announcement. I said that previously, that I think there's a chance that the announcement will come at the end of July with the DLC releasing at the start of August. Now you know the why this video topic, why now, because you guys like it, and just in case, now let's get to the what. Before I talk about my 4 picks for the species, I want to talk about what an accompanying free update could/should include, or what they could do if it was an expansion as opposed to a simple species pack. Most of these are already mentioned in several past videos, but let's summarize them. The lagoons themselves need to become more interesting to build and customize, so the update/expansion would allow us to change the water depth of the lagoon by simply being able to use the terrain tools underwater. It should also give us foliage brushes, with the most important of which being a kelp brush so we can make tall kelp forests, but they could also add a foliage brush that easily creates a coral reef or adds seagrass, so we don't have to place 1,000 of the current small decorative items to cover up the expansive lagoon floors. The lagoon should also be able to be connected to a regular enclosure. Regular fencing should snap to the lagoon walls, and similar to how we can place decorations and attractions to certain spots of the lagoon, we should be able to attach a ramp. For the time being, this ramp would just allow marine creatures to beach themselves, snapping up dinosaurs or guests that come too close to the edge. In the future, though, this ramp could be used by new species being added to the game who can go on land and in the lagoon, like the Nothosaurus from Camp Cretaceous that Camp Cretaceous fans still want, but also species like Deinosuchus and Sarcosuchus. On top of this new hunting behavior that allows some marine creatures to use the ramp, all marine species should have their behaviors expanded upon, adding socials, idols, grooming animations, and importantly, they need to periodically come up for air. Once someone pointed out to me that they currently don't, I can't unsee it. Final addition to the lagoon would be an underwater attraction, either a variation on the new viewing dome or a type of shark tunnel that can have an entry and exit on opposite sides of the lagoon. If you like these ideas, give the video a like, and if you like videos like this, as well as park building ideas and inspiration, information, then consider subscribing to the channel. We have gained 6,000 subscribers in just the past month, and we are on our way to 200,000 subscribers, so it would mean a whole lot to me if you would join the channel and get us to that milestone. Now to my 4 species picks. The first is probably the most requested species, and that is the Megalodon. There isn't a single marine species that I personally see being requested more often than the Megalodon, and I agree that it would be a pretty cool addition to the Lagoons. My main want for it would be that they don't just make it a scaled up great white shark. There is currently a mod for the Megalodon that I think looks really great and really distinctive, really interesting, and something along those lines I would want Frontier to go with. From a very oft requested species, we go to a species that I hardly see mentioned, and that is the Basilosaurus. Basilosaurus is a whale, so it's very different from the species we have currently. It has an entirely different movement to how it propels itself. And as a whale, I also think it's very important that Frontier would add vocalizations for it, similar to modern whales or dolphins and killer whales. I think they would add a pretty haunting sound to the Lagoons and become one of those species that you add just for the sound that they add to your park, like the calls of the Brachiosaurus and the hoots of the Dilophosaurus, which I think add a lot of atmosphere to a park. My third pick is Archelon. This giant turtle I think would really stand out from the other species, and they can do some beautiful patterning on the shell, and this species would be the first to make more constant use of the ramps that I talked about earlier, with Archelon regularly coming out of the water to just rest in place of the behavior of turtles laying eggs on the beach. Archelon could also have a really cool combat interaction with other species in the lagoon, like the Mosasaurus and the new Megalodon not being able to kill them at first due to their protective shell, so you'd get some failed hunts. But other times you get another animation where the attacking creature figures out to immobilize the Archelon by biting the flippers first and then biting down on the head. Which is pretty gruesome, but would definitely be a sight to see and make Lagoons more exciting, which is the point, because there are 2 different ways how an Archelon hunt is gonna go down. Before I reveal my final pick for this marine species pack, I invite you to share your own 4 most wanted marine species in a comment down below, because I'd love to read what your picks are as well. My 4th pick is the dunk himself, LAStudios. I'm repeating myself, but the reason I want this species is because it's so different from what we have in the game already. In a way, Mosasaurus and Tylosaurus are quite similar, the same way Kronosaurus and Lipleurodon are. Not to mention the long-necked Plesiosaurus, Attenborosaurus, Elasmosaurus, and Styxosaurus. My 4 picks for this pack or expansion are really focused on adding something unique, and I just think the dunk is an awesome species to boot. The dunk was infamously shrunk in a recent scientific article, but with this being the Jurassic franchise, which is not known for its scientific accuracy, I personally wouldn't want Frontier to adhere to that finding. I don't even think it was a conclusive finding anyway, just a new theory, although I could be wrong about that, but my point is it doesn't really matter. Canonically, it is accepted and acknowledged that species in the Jurassic franchise don't look like how they should look. And while it's great that sometimes the game does go for more scientific accuracy, I personally don't need nor always want them to take that route, so give us a cool, sleek, big, chunky dunk. That concludes how I would improve the Lagoons and add to the marine species roster. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game.